Hello there and welcome. In this video, I want to give you a quick guide about genes in RIMWORLD Biotech. We're going to talk about all the things that you need to know to make this whole genetics thing work for you, and I hope that by the end of this video you have understood everything that you wanted to understand and make your own story here happen, whatever it might incorporate. So let's get started with number one. What do we need? So first up, a couple of technologies. We need to get going electricity and microelectronics as the baseline technologies. Once we have these, we can research xenogenetics and gene processor as the two things that allow us to extract genes from other people and put it into our people where we want to have it. And at the end of the ladder stands archaeogenetics, which requires fabrication as well. It is the most optional part of the tree where you get the high-end things available. More about that later. This is what we need technology-wise, and it is already quite a tall order. We need then a whole lab, mostly consisting out of steel and components. The gene assembler requires steel and components, the gene extractor does so, and the gene banks where we store the gene packs in as well. There's also the gene processor, which does require plasteel on top of the other things, which allows us to make more complex things happen in terms of gene injections that we produce ourselves. More about that in the next point. In short, you need a lot of steel components and tech points to get started, but once you have these, you can basically make the whole thing work on and on. Now, that is the baseline what we need. Now let's get talking about what we can do. So for one, we can create new gene packs that consist out of the genes that we have collected. Gene packs can either be bought by traders or we can make our own via the gene extractor. We just need to insert somebody who's not a baseline person, and then 12 hours later we have the genes extracted. This can be used on your own folks and on prisoners and whoever is in your possession. And yeah, after 12 hours, we get a randomly selected amount of genes. Let's fast forward that. And here we have now extracted 2 of the genes that the person had in themselves. Here found to be in bio, and we click that. This is the genes that the person has. And up to 3 of these can land in your gene pack. It is all random from here. Well, the thing here is, after we did that once to the people, they need to rest. In the health bar, you see now that they are suffering from a gene loss shock and their genes are regrowing. We can now put the same person once more in there, they'll just die. If we wait the given time, we can do that again and again and again, as often as we want to. This is, at the end of the day, up to you. All of the gene packs get stored in here, and if you don't want any of these that are produced, you can also eject and destroy them. Recombining genes creates a whole new thing. You see that there's a blue and a purple icon. This is complexity, and this is the effect on the metabolism. Generally speaking, if the effect of the gene is good, it makes the people faster hungry, and it has a high complexity. If it is bad for the people, it has a different level of complexity, usually low, but it has a positive influence on the metabolic efficiency, which means they are less hungry than normal. So in general, your genetic manipulations will influence the hunger of the person. The complexity that you can put into the pack is directly and only depending on the amount of gene processes. And apart from these yellow things, which we're going to talk about in point 5, the Archite genes, you can here mix and match whatever you want. Once you have combined the genes to your own liking, there's one more thing. There's a couple of thresholds that can't be exceeded. The metabolic efficiency can't be pushed too far into the negatives or too far into the positives. There are thresholds. But as you can see here, we can really put up some quite nice things. The only thing that you need to know is if 2 genes basically to do the same, they start suppressing each other. So we can't put up super fast healing and fast healing together. I'll show you what happens if we do so. Super fast healing and fast healing, one of the two gets suppressed. All of the genes in here can be then produced and reproduced as often as you want to. The result is a gene pack which then can be implanted into any of your people. Dear Kieran here is the result of that. They then fall into a coma. It is a normal operation, requires some medicine and such. And then they have a new genome. There goes. Consisting out of the things that you put in there. And you get to name them. I just show you here how that works. So you put these together and then you just get to name them, and the result can then be directly inserted into the specific person. So we start combining there. Does require a couple of hours. Let's fast forward that, and here's the xenogerm, which then can be ordered to be implanted into anybody you want to. So that's what we can do. Extract things and insert things. So how do we get genes? I have already talked about how we can take these out of the gene extractors. We can also take them from traders. The main takeaway here is that genes are hard to get, because either you need to buy gene packs from the traders or you have to rely on the random extraction of the people. I personally think that it is up to your own playstyle. The people don't have a direct threat to their life if you extract the genes once. You can absolutely utilize this to plunder your prisoners to your heart's content. But apart from that, there's also the other caveat, which brings me to number 4. Xenogerms can only be applied once. So if I'd be applying now to Kieran the new xenogerm that we have created, I would be overriding his genome, and he would be completely losing the stats from this one here, so we can't just put the next one on that one. But the interesting thing is, if now Kieran starts reproducing with other people, the baby can get a random and will get a random mixture of Kieran's and the other parent's genes, and this is a point where you then can start recombining again and refining the people. I have yet to experiment myself how it works if you work over several generations. Feel free to fill in the blanks here. For a quick guide, I felt like that is enough to note that you need to know that you cannot apply 2 xenogerms on top of the same person, and as soon as somebody is transformed by a xenogerm, everything except for Archite genes can be made inherited. You see here the difference is the light blue background compared to the gray background. These are inherited genes, which are part of your what you're born with. They don't get overwritten by the xenogerm. And yeah, feel free to mix and match and combine over several generations. Now, number 5, the last thing, Archite genes. So Archite genes cannot be extracted. If you ever capture somebody with a yellow gene, you can put them into the extraction machine as much as you want to, you won't be getting these out. Also, you need to invest an Archite capsule to actively generate a gene pack that includes these overpowered beasties here, and these Archite capsules can only be bought, as well as the gene packs that contain these also can only be bought, or otherwise received as quest rewards, I guess. Maybe you can also find them in adventures. I haven't tried these things out since the Odyssey release. I would assume that there's a lot of other ways now that you can find them on your travels, but you can't produce them. They are not you are not able to extract them out of somebody who has them in their body. That's the most important thing, and creating them is really costly because these Archite capsules get used up. They're basically like the ammunition to create the xenogerm of a higher quality. So these things are very comparable to the new consumables for mortars and such. So if you want to include the yellow genes, you will also require more and more Archite capsules, the more of the good genes you include. So this is really some high-end thing. Alright, and that's pretty much it. There's really not much more to that except to know that you will need a pretty large laboratory. That's one of the things I realized while I was experimenting, that the amount of gene processes is, I don't know, there's no... I haven't seen a limit in the text or something like that, and I have added in up to the complexity of 20, and then the room was full. So all in all, you can take this to pretty impressive proportions, and I hope you found this video helpful. It is a redo of an old video of mine where I now was able to compress that whole topic into less than 50% of the time, so I hope this was helpful. Feel free to add in your knowledge or anything you feel like I missed out which should have been said in this video. I'm all eager to hear about that, and feel free to leave a like, leave a subscribe, and consider supporting my work via Ko-fi or any other given means downstairs below. And many thanks to all the supporters out there, and a lot of thanks for watching this video up until the very end. Appreciate your time, and I hope it was helpful. See you next time.